Hi everybody, it's Liz Fleming of the Grants Club. Thank you for joining me this afternoon for this online workshop, all things about grants, and I'm sharing with you my 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. Now, I do just want to say thank you to the people that are on live with me. If you have any questions, please pop them into the chat. If you're watching the recording of this at a later date, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, then you can email me at liz@grantsclub.com.au if you have any questions. All the links of what I talk about today will be included in the YouTube clip and the emails that you get sent for the recording as well. And for those that are live, those links are in the chat already. So let's make a start. Thank you for taking the time to come and learn about how we can all write successful grant applications, whether it be for our businesses, our organisations, our not-for-profits, our community groups, our sports clubs. Doesn't matter what organisation you are associated with, grant applications are the same type of process. It's all just different information and a different sourcing of information and detailing out our projects. So today I want to start by asking how many of you in the audience are, or at home, are small business owners. Pop up your hand if that is you. Yes, there are a few people. And when it comes to grants, I find that people just don't know that grants are out there. And then if they do know that there are grants out there, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get them. And it all just seems way too scary and way too stressful. And that's what we want to demyth today. And I want to help you learn how to write those successful grant applications so we can get that funding into your bank account. Now, when it comes to grants, when they are released, it quite often is that they have only 4 to 6 weeks of an application period. So that is not long if we aren't ready and we are trying to develop the project, develop and write the grant application, as well as running our businesses. So who already here feels like they're wearing too many hats in their business and we can't possibly add anything more on to that? Yes, there's a few hands that have gone up. So that is what I'm all about. I want you to have the skills and knowledge to be able to write the grant applications yourselves to a high standard so we can get that successful approval, or work with you to outsource that work to me. And so you can continue to work on your business and put your resources where they really need to be. Because as small business owners or organisations, not-for-profits or committees, we're all time constrained. We're all living in a busy world. So we know that resources and time are scarce and limited. And so to add something more on like grants just seems such a headache. But I want to ask you this: how much free money are you missing out on in grant opportunities? Now you might say, Liz, well, I have no idea. I don't know what I don't know, and I wouldn't even like to think about it because this is the first thing that I've come to about grants, so I don't really understand how it all works. But I just want you to sit and think about that for a little bit, to think, well, what opportunities have I missed out on? And that's what I'm all about. How can we find those opportunities of the grant funding, of the grant programs, and then make sure that we've got project plans and expansion plans and growth plans aligned with our strategy that we can utilize these grant funds for. We are all about unlocking that potential. We all went into business for a reason, for a purpose, or we create an organization, or whatever that may be, but we also need funds to operate. We need funds to grow and expand, and grants are one source of that funding that is basically a hidden economy. Too many people don't know about it. They think that, oh, well, business is all private, so we all have to do it ourselves, and that is just not the case. This money is normally from government agencies. So it's taxpayers' money, your money essentially, that is being reallocated to other people to achieve projects and outcomes and objectives on behalf of the government is one way to think of it. So, thank you for joining me today in learning about how we can get that money into your bank account and be part of all of this. So I'm Liz, the Efficiency Coach. I also have the Grants Club. So I work with small businesses to maximize their capabilities, to grow and expand their businesses through business grants, through grant strategy, and being grants ready. They're my 3 key components when it comes to grants and knowing what we have to do. So I always start this with a bit of a geeky admission that I love writing grant applications. And I think it's because I treat them like a strategy. I treat them as a business plan. I treat them as a way to really understand how your business operates or your organization. And you know everything about your business. You're the best person placed to be able to answer those questions. And it's my job to extract that information out to you into the grant applications so that we can put that application in and be in the running for that funding. So for me, it creates variety. I get to learn about different industries. I get to be part of different teams and different businesses, and also helping them with avenues to grow and expand. So I've spent some time in corporate as well as in government agencies. So that was where I was opened up to the world of grants and was just mind blown that these grants existed, that a lot of people didn't know about them, and that government agencies don't necessarily advertise for them because they don't want to be oversubscribed. They don't want to create more work for them. And they know that there are people out there looking for them and searching for those grants and that are in the know. And so it's my mission to get more people knowing about them, more people applying, and getting those funds in your bank account. I'm really proud of my 85% success rate, and last year it was 88%. So I've maintained that 85% success rate, and 100% of my grants have been submitted on time. So I take the stress out of that submission, out of that writing, not knowing, being paralyzed, not knowing what to write, what to include, how to answer the questions. We work together collaboratively and get all that done. And the reason why I've got a high success rate is because I am really upfront about how strong your project is. So we need to be thinking about what the objectives are of that program. Why are they giving out the funds? What is it they want you to do? And making sure that our project, our business aligns with all of that as well. So as I've said, grant applications are my thing, anything to do with grants. And it comes back to, what do we need funding for? It is amazing how many people come to me and say, Liz, I need some money, I need a grant. And my first question is, what for? What is it in your business that is going to expand, create efficiencies, and allow your business to grow and invest in? We need to spend the money on something. And if we don't know, then we need to go back to the drawing board and create that strategy. So allow me to work in my zone of genius on grant applications and grant strategy with you so that you can be freed up to work in your zone of genius on your time and growing your business in other ways as well. I do love this quote, and it is no truer than in relation to grants. Nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. We don't know what we don't know, and that's absolutely fine. That's why you're here today. But also we don't reap the benefits of the shots we don't take either. So we need to be searching for those opportunities, and we need to be in the know, and we need to be strategic about it as well, because we recognize that our time and resources are already scarce, and we don't want to be wasting anyone's time. And we want to, be targeted about where we are putting our time and energy and effort. So now I'm going to share with you my proven process that has allowed me to maintain my success rate of 85%. And I use this process with my clients all the time, every day, in writing those grant applications. So today we're going to go through the 7 steps of successful grant writing. So for starters, it's all about, what does success mean to you? As a business owner, what does success mean? Why did we go into business? What is it we're trying to achieve? And that will be different for everybody. So we need to work out and know what our values are. We need to know what our strategy is, and we need to know how we aim to or plan to grow and expand our business. So when it comes to grant writing, we first of all need to find the grant. We need to find a grant that we can apply for. And when we think we've found the grant, we need to really get organized, and it is all in the preparation. So we need to get all the information. When a grant program is released, the grant guidelines will be released. There'll be other information. There might be templates. There will be examples, eligibility criteria, and sometimes there are screeds and screeds of paper and words and sentences and things that are just gobbledygook and a lot of jargon that people don't necessarily understand, and that's where I come in. So we need to gather that information first. Then we need to make sure we read through the criteria. And I always say to people, we need to read through the criteria for the business eligibility as well as the project. So that's really, really important, because we don't want to get halfway through writing this application and then realizing, oh, we don't quite meet the criteria that they're requiring. So at the moment in Australia, there are more than 1,800 grants out there at the moment, but that doesn't mean to say that there's 1,800 grants for your business or organization to apply for, because they've all got different eligibility criteria. And that might be based on location, that might be based on size of business, type of business, industry, and also project eligibility as well. So I've seen time and time again where people have come to me in a panic and got halfway through the process and realized, oh, hang on a minute, we're not even sure if we're eligible. So that is the first thing. So when I find people a grant, or you find a grant and you come to me and say, can you help me write this? We make sure that we are absolutely certain that we can apply and are eligible in the first place. This is where we're going to draft our outline. So what is our project? What is it that we're going to do? What is it we want to achieve? And what does that look like? Because if we can't plan that out, then we're going to have a real hard time writing this application. And this is where I create the Word document. So this will be where it is the grant application put into a Word document, and then that becomes our working document between me and you as a client, for you to enter all that information, and then we can use that later on for our submission. I always recommend doing a Word document here, because nowadays most of the grant applications are through digital portals, and just the way technology is, we don't want to be saving and relying on that. So save it in your Word document, and then when we're at the final stages, we can simply just copy and paste across in one go. Just means that it's an efficient process and that we're not risking the loss of that portal not saving, or losing a password or whatever it might be. So the Word document is absolute gold, and it also means that you can share that with other people in your organization, or between me and you as clients. Step 2 is working out who's going to do what. And again, as I've said, planning is key here. So having a numbered checklist of all the components required. So that's in addition to your Word document. So you've got your application. You'll also have other documents that you need to submit, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, but we need to make sure that we don't miss any of that out. Now that we've got digital portals, if you don't attach a document, if you have the wrong words or the wrong type of document or whatever, they won't let you submit it. It becomes grayed out. So this is really, really important to get this stuff right in the planning stages and up front, and being aware of what is required. Bringing your team together. So having that all important kickoff meeting with the people that are going to be involved in writing your grant. So is it internal people? Is it other organizations? Are you collaborating with other people? Who is going to do this work? Now, this doesn't have to be me, but I do encourage you to seek out and work with a grant writer that has had success with writing grants. There are many writers out there and grant writers that think that they can write well, but have they had the success? Have they actually ended up getting people's funds into the bank account? So that's the key thing there. But just working with someone that has had experience, has had success, does know what they're doing, and can help you through the process is really, really important. As I said at the start, we're already stressed, we're already busy, wearing a million hats. There is no room for error here. It's a bit like studying for an exam or submitting an assignment. We need to make sure it's really proper, because we get one chance at this, and that is it. Now, grants are a really increasingly competitive process. We don't know who else has applied. Sometimes we don't even know the total funds that are available for that particular grant program. So we need to absolutely showcase our project in the best possible light, and that all starts with the planning. And when we're planning this out, we also need to be mindful of the deadline and the submission date, and plan out those certain tasks and getting documents back in with a bit of a buffer of 1 to 2 days. This is already, can be a stressful and time, and we don't want to be down to the wire for a number of reasons. So giving yourself that buffer of a few days when we're asking for quotes and other documents and stuff, we want to be generous, but we also want to give us enough time at the end if they're delayed or they're not quite right or there needs changes to be made. So we don't want to be, planning to submit 5 minutes before. We want to be planning to submit a couple of days before. And then, there is that buffer if we're waiting for other documents or we're reviewing the final submission or we need some more information, then we have that time available and up our sleeve. Step 3 is all about creating and designing your own project plan. So what is it that you're going to spend the funds on? What is it, that project? Is it buying equipment? Is it putting on new staff? Is it some marketing? Is it a completely new set of workshops? Is it upgrading some infrastructure, upgrading your equipment? Depending on what the grant is, will depend on what your project is, but this is where we need to create and design within the parameters of the grant program what we're actually going to be asking for. How is this project going to happen? Who else is going to be involved? And allocating tasks and actions to making sure that this happens, this works. And at this point, I also treat the grant application as another project within your business. So who is going to be in charge of it and who's going to do what? And now what costs are involved? Now, when it comes to grants, obviously we're asking for money, we're asking for funds. So we need to have a budget. We need to know what our costs are. Are we spending $50,000? Is this a $20,000 project? And that's also really important when we are aligning it to the criteria and the eligibility criteria of the grant program itself, because sometimes they'll say, oh, well, this project can only be for $20,000 or it has to be a $50,000 project, but we're only going to fund 50% of it. So you have to match it. So making sure you understand all of that from the outset is really, really important. And also knowing your budget, because if you've got a project in mind and you haven't done your project costs and your budget and you think it's $20,000 because that's what the grant is and it's about ballpark figure, then if we go and get those quotes, it's 100,000, then we're in trouble. So we can either match those funds by ourselves, or if we're not in a position to do so, then it may mean that we're not able to make the application. Step 4 is the really, really important step here, where we need to collate all our supporting documents. Now, every grant application is slightly different and they ask for slightly different things. Some grant applications ask for supporting documents by name and are very specific. So it might be a project plan, a risk management plan, a business plan, a budget, quotes, communications and stakeholder plan, or they might just say, you just give us what you think would be relevant to this project in this grant application. So making sure we're reading through what is required. Other grant applications ask for nothing extra. So they will say, please do not submit anything extra apart from what we've asked for. It will not be assessed. And then there are others that will say you can attach 5 documents at your discretion. So again, working out what those documents could be is really important. And they normally take a bit of time to get, especially if there's external factors and they're from external organizations. So that's where you need to be planning all of that out from the outset of how are you requesting, what information do they need, and when are you requiring them back by, so that we can easily attach them to the application. Now, writing letters of support, this is one thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, and we need to be making sure that we can have other businesses or other people that are going to benefit from this project to write a letter of support for us, to show the government agency that we have that support, that this project is bigger than us. It's not just to benefit our own private entity. There's going to be greater benefits to the community, to the target audience, and things like that. So thinking about who can you get letters of support from, and that will vary from project to project, from business to business. And we actually draft those letters of support send them to them, they put them on their letterhead and sign them, and they send them back. So we make it easy, but they are a real source of strengthening your proposal to the grant funders. Getting quotes, asking for these quotes, and it might mean that you need to ask for several quotes because some might not get back to you. Some people take 4 days to do quotes. Some won't do it if they find out that it's for a grant. and all that kind of stuff. They require additional information. So we need to get a reliable quote, one that's as relevant as possible to the work that you're doing. At the end of the day, is an estimate, and quite often most grant programs don't require you to go with the same supplier just because you got a quote from them. So that's just something to keep in mind. But also quite often we can't submit a grant application unless we have a quote. So again, something to really keep in mind, get onto straight away, maybe request quotes from 2 different places and hope that at least one of them get back to you and attach that one. Some grant applications require you to attach more than one quote. So again, reading those guidelines, what is required, how are we going to do this, and who are we going to get it from is really, really important. Financial reports. Now, here in Australia, any grant greater than $50,000 normally requires you to submit your up-to-date financial statements from the last couple of years, but also making sure that you know your financial reports in terms of if there's a matching requirement for funds, how are we going to source that? But also financial reports can also be a forecast of cash flow, a comprehensive budget, an operating budget sometimes needs to be attached. So we need to make sure that we've got all of those up to date, whether it be Xero or another program, so that we can, again, attach those to our application. And at this point, it is really the bulk of the work, and it is about getting shit done. So, you know, putting those requests out, sending reminders, you know, checking in with them. Have they got all the information they need so that they can send them back to you so that you can attach them to your grant application? Now, we're up to step 5, and we're only just starting to write our draft application. And this is because we need to gather all that information. We need to get clear about our project. We need to be able to succinctly describe it. And, you know, I always start with the budget, because what are those components of what we're funding? What is it that we are asking for money and going to spend money on? Those things need to be showcased in our application. So going back to the guidelines of the key criteria to address what the questions are in the application form. What are they asking us? What is it that they are requiring from us to write? Now, each of the questions, there'll be a combination of questions, there'll be a combination of supporting documents, there'll be a combination of other reports that need to be attached, but looking at what is the assessment weightings, what are they putting the most emphasis on, and we need to put that effort into that as well. So being really clear about answering the questions, signposting those answers. If they've asked for what is this project benefiting, my starting answer to that is this project is benefiting XYZ. So making it really clear in our answers what we're answering, and so that the people on the panel can get a really clear idea of what we're trying to achieve. Remember, the people on the panel know nothing about us, know nothing about our business, and know nothing about our project. So we need to be talking in plain, simple language, go back to absolute basics and answer the question that is being asked. And it's really important to check the word or the character limits and including these on the Word document that I spoke of earlier. So when I'm drafting them, you know, we're jotting ideas down and having a bit of a go at it, but knowing that if I have to describe the project in 50 words or 150 words or 500 words can be really, really important. And be rest assured that if there's a 500 word limit, we will be using 499 words to convey our project and describe our project. Once we've had one go at writing the draft, we're then going to overlay it with our why and our story. So we need to be really convincing to the panel about why our project is the best project and why it should be funded. And this is where we're going to write in a persuasive way. We're going to go back to the guidelines. We're going to talk about those objectives. Why is this going to benefit? And why is our project the best one to be funded? We also need to include the why in our project and the best, and why it's the best with the most impact, and linking it back to the benefits to the targeted audience. So going back to the guidelines, who is the target audience? What is it that it's trying to achieve? And is that in alignment? And sometimes when we've gone through the whole process, sometimes it might not be. Sometimes we might need to get a little bit creative. And it also might link into who you've got letters of support from as well. And then we're up to the final step. Now, it's really, really important that you have somebody review and read through your application. Now, for me, this is always my clients, because I get them to check that it's factually correct, that what we've said we will do in the project in the future is what they are agreeing to, and also just checking for grammar and does it make sense, and have we got the essence of the truth of the business and the project in there as well. So really, really important for that. And again, you can be checking the word limits at this point as well. Then we're going to copy and paste from our Word document into our application form on the portal. And quite often with the word limits and stuff as well, if we copy and paste more than the word limit, it will chop it off mid-sentence. So that's why it's really important to be using that Word document and saving it as versions, and then that final version being completely as it is going to be submitted, and it's a simple copy and paste into the right boxes. Now, I know this makes a lot of people nervous about the submission, and even when I'm doing it, I did one last week, and I was just so nervous because it was, 5 documents. Did I upload the right files? Had I, not grabbed an earlier version? All of that kind of stuff. So it becomes really important to make sure that you are naming the files in an appropriate way and having a system so that you're all ready to press submit on your application well before the due date and time. So if something is closing at midnight, we don't want to be logging on at 11 o'clock to try and submit it. Things can go wrong with technology, your internet can cut out, your computer shut down, all those sorts of things. And quite often they will not accept anything by email, even if something has gone wrong. And also there'll be nobody around to help you at 11 o'clock at night either. So they're just some things to factor in and think about when you are planning out your submission. And I also think it's really important to celebrate and reflect on the process. So it's always a big effort of work, and whether I'm doing it or you're doing it, but it's also a good opportunity to reflect on that process. Quite often there's questions in there that you might not have answered or thought about in your business or organization before. Like, you might not have had to articulate your achievements for the last 12 months, or really think about, well, how is this project going to benefit us as a business or an organization and the wider community as well. So take that time to celebrate, and I promise you that the first grant is always the hardest, and then after that it becomes a little bit easier because you have already done so much of the work in the first one. So there we have it. This is my 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. This is the process that I go through with my clients, and it is that structure that a lot of people need. A lot of people forget about some of these components, and going through this, results in those successful outcomes. So if you can just take a moment now to pop into the chat what your greatest takeaway was from today, from what I've already shared. There's still some more to go, but in terms of the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications, this is it. It is all about the planning. It is having those components of the letters of support and other things as well. But if you want to share in the chat with me what your greatest learning was, I'd love to hear it. Some of the things that have been shared before is they're surprised that we don't start writing till step 5, and quite often people just jump straight into the writing. And the value of getting the letters of support. Yeah, so that's so important. So when we're planning these projects, we need to think about who else can be involved, indirectly or directly. They might not be funding the project, but they might be a supplier. They might be someone that has already done it before. They might be someone in your local community or same area. And step number 6 is all about adding your why and writing using persuasive words to basically convince the panel that your project is the best project. So we're talking about what are the impacts of this project on the community or the target audience, making sure we're including that and making sure that target audience matches that objectives of the grant program in the first place. So it becomes a bit of a checking and matching exercise at that point as well, and making sure that we've also been really clear about what our project entails. I've seen time and time again clients have come to me and said, oh, I applied for this grant by myself and I didn't get it. And we've reviewed the grant application and they haven't actually said what the project was. They've missed what they were purchasing. They've just skipped into the more complicated stuff because they're too close to it. They're in it every day. So they forget to say, oh, this project is to purchase a certain piece of equipment. So it is about going back to simple, plain English language, not using jargon, or if you do need to use jargon, you explain it so that the person on the panel can understand. And also at that review time, getting someone else that's not directly related to your business and to see whether they can understand what you're trying to, the projects that you're trying to present in the grant application. So thank you for sharing those learnings. And here are some clients that I've helped get grant applications for. And as you can see, they're across different industries. I work with for-profit businesses, not-for-profit businesses, community organizations, and also sporting clubs and schools as well. So as I said at the start, grant applications to me doesn't matter what you're applying for or what your business is, the process is the same, and that's all part of the challenge and excitement of the work that I do. So my question to you is, what is the difference between these businesses receiving grants and your business? And it may be that you don't know where to start looking for grants. You don't have the right skills in your organization to do the grant writing, or you simply just don't have time. So I want you to think about that in terms of why is it that you aren't applying for grants, or you have been applying for grants, but you haven't been successful and you don't know why. So there's lots of reasons, and sometimes it can be as simple as that there weren't enough funds to go around as well. So just because you weren't successful doesn't mean that you necessarily had a bad application. It might have just been that someone else had a better application or a better project. So we just need to review that and also seek out that feedback from the grant funders at the same time. Here's a couple of testimonials. So Kim and Matt from Rethink Recycling Co-op, they got a $59,000 grant. And I really did love working with them. That application was quite comprehensive, and they learned a lot about their business going through that process. Ben and Jesse got $27,000 worth of grants where they turned their side hustle into a full-time business much earlier than they thought they ever would. And Sarah and James got a $107,000 grant for a CNC machine. They're cabinet makers, and that's just streamlined their processes. They were having to turn down work or say to people, actually, there's a 6-month waiting list, and they could increase their capacity, take on more work, and do things quicker as well. I think it cut it down from 4 days of manual labor, and now the machine does that same amount of work in half a day. So absolutely amazing. So now I want to show you how I can help you and your business or organization to grow and expand with business grants. Now here in Australia, these have been some of the recent grants that have been out. And as you can see, there is a variety of different grants available related to events, getting people back out and about after COVID. There's some private ones there. And the thing with grants is sometimes there will be multiple grants available, and sometimes there'll only be 1 or 2. So that's what we've got to also take into consideration, that if there's a grant for the whole of the country and there's only going to be 10, are we really going to give it a shot, or be knowing that there's going to be lots of applications and not many opportunities. That one in the middle, the Small Business Specialist Advice Pathways Program from Business Victoria, was to work with a financial professional such as a chartered accountant like myself, and that one was open. It was a really simple application and it closed within about a week. So it was supposed to be open for 5 weeks, but because there was so many people that applied for it, it closed within a week. And I'm glad to say that lots of my clients got that grant because we applied the first day and we didn't delay. And so it just shows that, there can be an oversubscribed, and they've kind of woken up to that as well, where they just don't want to waste people's time, and, they close it early if the funds are already exhausted. And there's also grants related to wage subsidies in terms of hiring staff. There's one in New South Wales for the Safe Work Small Business Rebate. For that one, you have to watch a webinar, purchase some health and safety equipment, and then apply for your rebate. Same in Victoria, there was one for a rebate for your air purifier for your office as well. So you can see there's a variety of grants for different things. And the other problem with grants is we don't exactly know when they're going to come out, and we don't know what they're going to be for or what those conditions or guidelines are. So we just have to be ready for when they do come out. Now I'm just going to run through a few questions that come up quite regularly. If you do have any other questions, please do pop them into the chat and I will answer them for you. So can you help me write grants? Absolutely. So we can tailor a service to you. We can completely write it for you. Obviously, we need to extract that information from you as a business owner. We can also guide you through the process, and also you can write it and then we can do a review service as well. So I work very bespokely with my clients depending on what their requirements and their needs, their skill set and their resource and time availability looks like, because we've always got a short time frame when it comes to grant applications. So sometimes even though people might have the skills, they just don't have the time, and they'll say, Liz, you just do it, so that's totally flexible. Business plans. Now, some grant applications do require a business plan to be attached. Sometimes they will ask for components of your business plan. So I think it's always important to have a business plan ready to go, and at least we can tweak it if we do need to attach it. But if you don't have one, yes, we can absolutely help you to write your business plan to become grants ready. And also that's part of the process as well. That's part of that planning of, well, what kind of grants could we be applying for? What's our strategy? What's our equipment? What things are going to allow us to grow and expand? What's my success rate? To date, it's 85%. And last year in 2022 was 88%, and 100% of my grants have been submitted on time. How do I know what I need a grant for? Well, the best way to work that one out is to get in touch with me, book in a 20-minute chat. We can talk about all things grants. And as one of my colleagues says, I can talk about grants all day, but what we really need to understand is, what is your strategy? What is your business? How are you going to grow and expand? And what could you use those grant funds for? So, if there was a grant for $10,000 right now, what would be that purchase that you would make to grow and expand your business? That's what we need to be asking ourselves. So if you do have any other questions, please do pop them into the chat with the letter Q, and I will answer them as we go. So what's next? What I'm finding lately is that people are struggling to work out what grants they can apply for and what kind of grants they should be searching for. And what that is alluding to is that they don't have a clear strategy. They don't have that funding strategy, or they have too many ideas in their head and they don't know which one to go with. So I invite you to book in a $495 3-hour strategy session with me. It is a brainstorming session on Zoom. It is a great way to get all those ideas down, to come up with new ideas, to be able to niche down, work out how we're going to target, talk about what kind of grants are available in your area or your industry, and work out an action plan from there. So if you are interested in booking a strategy session with me, please send me an email. I'll put my email into the chat right now. And we can get that booked in. These are becoming really popular because a lot of people don't know where to start when it comes to grants and their business. So I'm here to help. I do that whole work from the start in terms of developing your strategy, going through what is it you want to achieve, what are your revenue goals, what are your growth and expansion goals, and coming out of that with lots of clarity. And then we can work out a grant strategy and work out what kind of grants we need to be searching for, and then be ready to apply for them when they come out. I really love those sessions. It allows me to get my creative juices going, and I just love learning about people's businesses, how they got to where they are, and then how they can thrive into the future as well. If you're not really sure where you need to start with grants, I implore you to book in a 20-minute chat with me. I will put the link into the chat, and the link will also be in the emails and on the YouTube recording of this, but there's the link there. If someone can just click on that link and see if it's working, that would be great, and let me know in the chat. That's a Zoom call or a phone call, and we can quickly ascertain where your business is at, what type of industry you're in, what you're struggling with, what your strategy looks like, and then we can work out next steps from there. So I do really love those calls as well. Or you can join my Grants Club VIP membership. Now, this has been created from demand for people that don't know anything about grants, don't have time to be looking for grants, and they really wanted to outsource the searching for grants, the learning about grants, and they just wanted someone to, you know, tell them how to do it and what to do, and keep them informed about how grants can help them grow their business. Thanks, Stacey. I'm glad that the link works. When it comes to the Grants Club VIP membership, this is where it's a 12-month program initially. We do all the hard work for you. We search for the grants for you. We match you with those grants for you to grow and expand your business. And here we are, as today, we're sharing our proven process on how to write grant applications. We also provide special discounts to get your grant applications written by me as well. So, you know, when you're kept in the know, you're outsourcing your grants to us, and we can assist you in your business to be grant ready as well, which is all important. There's a 12-month calendar. We've got quarterly masterclasses. We had one a couple of weeks ago, and got another one coming up next week. Other signature programs being offered exclusively to Grant Club members. There's a private Facebook group for learning and asking questions, and to be connected with other like-minded businesses who are also looking to grow and expand. And we have quarterly strategy calls to see where you're at in your business, so that the more I know about your business, the more we can tailor our search criteria for you as well. So the membership is, for all of that, is valued at more than $5,000. And today it's $3,000 for the year, or monthly payments of $300 a month. So this is only available for Australia, but anyone in Australia. We cover all states of Australia. And I would love to have you join the Grants Club VIP membership. If you're not sure whether this is right for you, please do book in a 20-minute call, and we can have a chat about whether it is right for you and your business. I also have the Efficient Business Community Facebook group as well, which is in the process of being called the Grants Club Community. I'm in a bit of a transition phase when it comes to branding, but click on that QR code to join that. I'd love to see you in that group as well, where we will be sharing tips and tricks about grants, upcoming grants in Australia, and all things efficiencies. So today's offer could not be easier. Let's get started. It's never too late to get started with grants. You don't know what you don't know, so let's start learning and working together so that we can get those funds into your business. And one of my favorite quotes when it comes to grants: nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. And if you're not working on something, if you're not focusing on something, or not aware of something, then nothing can be achieved. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you do want to get in touch, there's the website and my email address, and of course we're on Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and I would love for you to follow me. And thanks for joining, and I will see you soon.